Very important law, very important from your exam perspective as well. You often get questions or numericals based on Coulomb's law. So Coulomb's law talks about the force experienced between two charges, say Q1 and Q2, which are placed r distance apart. Coulomb's law states that the force between 2-point charges, let's denote that as F, varies inversely as the square of the distance between the charges. So let us suppose that there are these two charges, let's say Q1 and Q2, and they are distance r apart. So this law states that it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the charges. It is directly proportional to the product of the magnitude of the two charges. That means it is directly proportional to Q1, Q2. And it acts along the line joining the two charges. So that means the this line which is joining these two charges, this force will also act along this line. So based on these three criteria, it is found that force is proportional to Q1 Q2 by r square. To convert it into equality, we introduce a constant and we call this constant as k. So k is some arbitrary constant. So how do we later calculate the value of k? So later k was calculated as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, where epsilon naught is permittivity of free space. So epsilon naught has a constant value of 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square. So putting that value, k was found to be 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. So in this fashion, we derived Coulomb's law. So we arrived at Coulomb's law. So this expression tells us what will be the force experienced between the 2-point charges which are placed r distance apart. Now let us suppose that if these are the two charges Q1 and Q2, and let us say that both of these charges are opposite in nature. For example, one is a positive charge, the other one is a negative charge. Then what happens? Attraction. So they come towards each other. Whereas if both of these are like charges, as in this is also positive and this is also positive, then what happens? They tend to go away from each other because like charges repel. But in any case, this force acts along the line that joins these charges. So when we talk about like charges, since they move away from each other, therefore the force acting on each of these charges would be in the outward direction. But when we talk about unlike charges, since they attract, therefore the force experienced would be in the inward direction for both of them. Right? Now that we got an idea about Coulomb's law, it's time to introduce the SI unit of charge. And what's that? It's Coulomb, denoted by a capital C. And how do we define 1 Coulomb? Obviously using Coulomb's law. So 1 Coulomb of charge is that charge which, when placed at a distance of 1 meter from another charge of same magnitude and same type, experiences a force of 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton. Very simple. You can directly apply Coulomb's law and see this. 1 Coulomb charge, 1 Coulomb charge, distance between them is 1 meter. So what will be the force experienced? 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newtons. Principle of superposition states that total force on a given charge due to a number of other charges is the vector sum of the individual forces exerted on that charge by the other charges. Now, let us look at it in this way. Let us suppose these are some of the charges. Let's say Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 and so on till Qn. So you have multiple charges. Right? Now let us suppose we have to find out the total force on one charge. Let us say the total force on charge Q1 due to all of these charges. So how will we calculate that? So this principle states that the total force on Q1 would be the vector sum of the force on Q1 due to each of these charges. That means force on Q1 due to Q2, force on Q1 due to Q3, force on Q1 due to Q4 and so on, and sum of all of these forces. So that would be the total force on Q1. Correct? Okay. So let's try to do it a bit more. So let us suppose that the position vectors for each of these charges are given by r1, r2, r3, r4 and so on till rn. Okay, so now what will happen? The net force on q1, which is denoted by F1, will be equal to force on 1 due to 2 plus force on 1 due to 3 plus force on 1 due to 4 and so on till force on 1 due to n. And how do we calculate each of these values? So it also says that each individual force is unaffected by the presence of other charges. Now when we are calculating the force on 1 due to 2, we can simply apply Coulomb's law because it doesn't get affected by the fact that there are so many other charges as well in the background. That doesn't matter. So how do we calculate each of these values? For example, force on 1 due to 2 will be equal to k q1 q2 divided by r21 square, where r21 is the distance between these two charges. And here we are dealing with vector, therefore this unit vector. Right? So in a similar way, we will have values for each of these forces and their vector sum will give the total force on charge q1. So in general, we can say that force on any charge qi is given by k summation of qi qn divided by r square ni rni unit vector. Now it looks complicated, but actually I have written the same thing just in terms of a generic, you can say a general formula. Right? So if you put the value of I as 1, this is what you will get. Continuous charge distribution. Charge is still discrete in nature, just that the distribution is continuous. So extremely closed space charges form continuous charge distribution. So when we talk about continuous charge distribution, we talk about three things. One is linear, second is superficial, and third is volumetric. So we basically talk about charge density. Rather than a discrete value of charge, we talk about the density, that is charge per unit dimension. Now the dimension keeps changing. For example, if I am talking about linear charge density, which is generally denoted by lambda, this is charge per unit length. If I am talking about superficial charge density, which is denoted by sigma, this is charge per unit area. If I am talking about volumetric charge density, where I am dealing with volume denoted by rho, then I am talking about charge per unit volume. Now when does all of these come into picture? Volume comes into picture when I am looking at something which is three-dimensional. For example, a cube or a cuboid. So we talk about the volume inside it. Superficial, when we are talking about area, a square, just one surface of this cuboid could be an area. Linear, when we are talking about a line, for example a thin rod, so that's where we talk about linear charge density. Lot of theory, काफ़ी सारी थ्योरी पढ़ ली एंड लेट्स लुक एट सम न्यूमेरिकल्स, बिकॉज अभी मैंने बोला था कि कूलम्स लॉ इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम एग्जाम पर्सपेक्टिव, यानी कि इसमें से न्यूमेरिकल्स आ सकते हैं. सो लेट्स लुक एट अ सैम्पल प्रॉब्लम. सैम्पल प्रॉब्लम नंबर 1. The electrostatic force of repulsion between two positively charged ions carrying equal charges is 3.7 into 10 to the power minus 9 Newton when they are separated by a distance of 5 angstrom. How many electrons are missing from each ion? In this case, the force between these two charges is given as 3.7 into 10 to the power minus 9 Newton. And the distance between the two charges is 5 angstrom, which is equal to 5 into 10 to the power minus 10 meters. Now we have to find out how many electrons are missing from each ion. So in order to solve this question, our first step would be to find out the dimension of the charge. I mean, we have to find out the value of the charges, because here the situation is such that this is a positive charge, this is another positive charge which is separated by distance r. Now since both of these are positive, they will repel in this fashion. Correct? Now from Coulomb's law, we know that F is equal to K Q1 Q2, which is Q square divided by R square. So therefore Q square will be equal to F R square divided by K. F is given, R is given, K is a constant which is 9 into 10 to the power 9. So we will put all of these values here. So this becomes equal to root over f is 3.7 into 10 to the power minus 9. R square would be 5 into 10 to the power minus 10 whole square divided by k, that is 9 into 10 to the power 9. So this comes out to be 3.2 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. So that's the value of Q. But we have to find out how many electrons are missing from each ion. So from the concept of quantization of charge, we know that how can we represent charge? Charge is basically the total charge of the total number of electrons in that particular object. So this is equal to Ne. So N, that is the number of electrons, will be equal to Q divided by E, which is equal to 3.2 into 10 to the power minus 19 divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So this is equal to 2. So there are 2 electrons missing from each ion. Sample problem 2. Let a charge Q on a body be divided into 2 charged bodies, and the bodies thereafter are kept at a certain distance apart from each other. Show that the force between the bodies is maximum if capital Q by small q is equal to 2. Assume that these 2 charged bodies are Q and capital Q minus small q, because if one is small q, the other has to be capital Q minus small q. Right? The question says that this is Q and this is capital Q minus small q, and they are separated by a certain distance from each other. Right? We have to show that the force between them is maximum if Q by Q is 2. So first of all, we need to find out the force between these 2 charges, which will be equal to K into Q1 Q2 divided by R square. Right? So this is equal to K by R square into Q minus Q square. So that is the force. Now what do we want? We want to look at the maximum value of F. That is, we want force to be maximum. Therefore, and we want for maximum value of force, what should be the value of Q? That is the small q. So therefore, what we will do, we will differentiate it with respect to Q. So this is something which you have already learnt in your differentiation integration in mathematics, right? So whenever you have to find out the maximum value of a particular thing, for example, here we have to find out the maximum value of force with respect to what? With respect to this Q, the value of charge, because that is what we are trying to find out, right? So dF by dQ. So if we differentiate it, it becomes K by R square capital Q minus 2Q. I'm not getting into differentiation concept. So now for getting its maximum value, dF by dQ should be equal to 0. So therefore K by R square into Q minus 2Q should be equal to 0. So from this we get that small q is equal to capital Q by 2. Therefore capital Q by small q is equal to 2. Are we done? Not really, because in order to ensure that okay, this is the condition for its maximum value, we also need to check that at this condition d square f by dq square should be less than 0. So that's the condition for maxima, right? For maxima, first we say that df by dq should be equal to 0. Also d square f by dq square should be less than 0. So let's calculate d square f by dq square. That will be equal to k by r square into 0 minus 2. So that is equal to minus 2k by r square, which is less than 0. So therefore this is the correct condition. So here quite a bit of mathematics was involved. For all those who didn't understand it, please refer to the differentiation video. In fact, I have created a separate video for understanding differentiation and integration for those students who do not have maths as one of their subject. And all these important links are given in the description.